So this is part one of my story, and probably the craziest part. Starts off with a bang. Now, this started when I was 15. Pretty much, they have something called youth escort. I mean, they have just a bunch of different names for it. Youth escort service, youth transport service, or I don't even know all the jargon and stupid public relations names that come up with it. Pretty much, I mean, to just lay it all out there in practical terms, you have ex military, ex police, ex intelligence community type people, sort of like Blackwater, like people who were in the special forces, people who were in the CIA, people who worked for the FBI, people who worked for police departments, private investigators, stuff like that. These guys are pretty much like untouchable international, like a criminal network. When people want something done, like a big corporation or like a politician or something, they'll hire these type of people to do what it is, whether it's like kidnapping somebody, killing somebody, whatever. Like, I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff I can't even think of. But pretty much, yeah, I was 15 years old. I was sitting in my room early in the morning. It was like maybe 4 a.m. As you know, like every police raid or whatever, a dawn raid, they like come, at a certain time, when they expect most people to be asleep. Well, I wasn't asleep because I was really disturbed. My life was not very good. My parents were like very abusive, and I just felt like very alone, stuff like that. So I did not sleep very well in those days. So it was probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. It was still dark out. The sun hadn't risen. And I was laying there in bed, just staring at the ceiling and thinking about my life and just everything. And all of a sudden, I heard what sounded like, people trying to kick my door in. Because at the time, the way that I lived like in a garage. Like I was only 15, but it was like my dad like made me live in a fucking garage. But like it was like a back room of a garage. So it had like two doors. There's one that led exterior and then there's one that led into the garage. So they were pounding on the exterior door, like, kicking on it and stuff like that. And they were like looking in through like one of the windows and stuff like that. I thought it was a home invasion or like a, kidnapping or something like that. I mean, pretty much that is what it was. But I thought these guys were like just common criminals. I thought that was like a serial killer duo or something. There's no announcement, like when the police come to like raid, whatever, serve arrest warrant or serve a search warrant. They will announce themselves, like federal officer or, police, like, put your hands up, whatever. These guys, no announcement at all. So they just kept like banging, trying to kick down this door. And like they started yelling. I guess they're having trouble with it, even though it was not like anything special. If you were like in the military or whatever, like how easy it is to kick in like a door made out of wood on a wood frame. It's not hard at all, if you hit it right. So I don't know why, but I guess they're having trouble with it. They started yelling through the door, saying, open the door or we're going to start breaking in like other ways, like breaking down like the other door. We're going to go through the window. We're going to use like a battering ram or like whatever. And so like I'm at this point I'm in a siege mentality. I'm a 15-year-old kid. I have no idea what the hell is going on. I'm sitting in my room at 4 in the morning in my underwear. I'm supposed to be at school in like 3 hours. And there's these two huge guys with guns banging down my door. And like, I have no. I mean, my dad is nowhere to be found, or like my parents or anything. And if I called 911, I'm pretty sure that they would be inside before the cops ever showed up. So I thought in my mind at the time, the best thing to do is to comply. If you're dealing with like criminals or somebody, you don't want to aggravate them or agitate them. You want to comply. Like in a bank robbery, you don't want to be like a hero or whatever. You want to go with the flow, to maybe there'll be like an opportunity later. I don't know. That's just my thought process. So what I did was I walked over, like with my hands up, just like, hey guys, I'm not a threat or whatever. And I unlocked the door and I opened it, and they burst in, like both of them had handguns. Uh, like not not shitty. I knew right away like something was strange because it wasn't like gangbanger type handguns, like a high point or some low end thing. These were like Heckler and Koch, like USPs or something. It was a P226. Like they were like high end, like multi-$1,000 guns with like full tactical accoutrements and everything, and they had body armor, full like front and back plates, whole 9 yards, pretty much. Like a full, what you'd imagine like a SWAT team to wear, except no helmet. They just wore like a baseball cap or like nothing on their head. So like these guys bust in, and I'm wondering if this is some sort of mistake. I'm still kind of wondering, is this like a dream? Like, who are these guys? They never tell me like who they are, and like they just say get dressed, and they like say we're gonna take you somewhere. So I'm like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about? Take me somewhere? And they're just saying like get dressed, like put on some clothes. We're going right now, and like they have guns out, so it's like, what are you gonna do? So I go over to a sock drawer because I'm barefoot. I just woke up, so I go to take socks out of the sock drawer, and like as I'm about to reach in there, one of them says, if you put your hand in that drawer, I'll kick it closed so fucking hard it'll break your fucking wrist. Verbatim, that's the words he said. I'm not paraphrasing. I guess I don't know what his deal was. Maybe he thought I had a gun in my sock drawer or something like that. I don't know, but so but it was also sort of a weird mind game because they'd give you instructions, like tell you to do something, and then when you go to do it, they would threaten to kill you or threaten to hurt you or like punish you or whatever. Like I was saying, like I don't know where we're going. Is it okay if I take like a shower? Because I wanted to take a shower, and they're like, if you take a shower, like we're gonna both sit in the bathroom and we're gonna watch you shower the whole time. And said it like in a really like weird fucking way. I mean, whoever you are, like who wants to sit in a bathroom watching a 15-year-old boy like shower, like fully naked or whatever. Like beyond all security concerns, like the way he said it was just like really, like I don't know, like that's what he was getting out of the job or whatever, added benefit. You get to watch like little kids naked or whatever. take pictures of it. But anyway, I was just like, no, I'm not going to take a shower. I'm not going to sit in there while a bunch of grown men, with guns, have me in a locked room uh, while I'm naked. So that was probably wise. They took me out through the door that they had busted in, the one that I unlocked, but they fucked up the whole thing. I won't get into that, but anyway, my dad was standing out there. He was like crying or something, and like I don't even remember what he really said. He tried to like hug me or something. He tried to. I don't even remember. He was like really kind of not with it. He was just. I. It's hard to describe, but I just, kind of walked past him. I still don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. So they put me in this black car. This is actually a Toyota Prius, believe it or not. Was going to be a Chevy Suburban, like, in a movie. But that was in the shop. So I was in a Toyota Prius. But it was like a aftermarket modified vehicle, like diplomatic vehicle, or like a vehicle like a private military contractor would use, like in Iraq or something like that. There's a lot of different things about the car and on the car that are not normal, like run flat tires, like the shatterproof windows in the rear seat, locks on the rear doors that they'll only unlock when a button is pressed underneath the dashboard by the driver. There's a lot of different things like that, which normally you'd see like, on a embassy vehicle or something like that. The windows tinted like totally black, which is illegal where I lived. I was in Los Angeles at the time, so the legal window tint is like really not that much. It's like I can say off the top of my head, I would say like 10% is pushing it. This is at like 90% window tint. I mean, like jet black, you cannot see at all from the outside to the inside. So anything that's going on inside that car, like to the outside world or anybody, it's like invisible, like nobody can see. So how they had this set up is they had one guy. This is something I came to learn later, but I'll just say it right off the bat. There were two of them. One of them was a smaller guy that was, more, I wouldn't say scrawny, but he was like more average build. That guy was CIA or ex-CIA. He had worked at the embassy, U.S. Embassy in Moscow. Now, the other guy was a lot bigger, but he was like way much less intelligent. He was kind of just like muscle. That guy was ex-Army Special Forces, like Green Beret. And so what they did is they had the CIA, I'll just call him this from now on, CIA guy and Special Forces guy. They had the CIA guy driving the car and the Special Forces guy in the back seat with me, with his hand around the nape of my neck, like grabbing like the back of my throat, kind of. And this is like for hours. So where I lived, and this is where it gets very strange and conspiratorial, is where I lived. First of all, there's a ton of airports in Los Angeles County. Like off the top of my head, you have Van Nuys, Long Beach, Bob Hope, LAX. The list goes on. But between where they got me, where they took me out of my house, they were taking me on an airplane to another state. This is something I didn't know at the time. I'm sorry this is kind of confusing because I'm assuming that you know what I'm talking about. They were taking me to another state on an airplane. So they passed by Bob Hope Airport, which is what is you call it like a bypass airport. It's like an airport that celebrities use because when you go to LAX, you have to wait in long lines, a lot of security. It's like a nightmare. So they'll go to these like regional airports or like lower population airports, that usually service like smaller planes and helicopters, although Bob Hope does service like 737s and, jumbo jets. They passed by that place in order to go to LAX. Why? Well, we'll get to that in a second. In Burbank, California, it is part of Los Angeles County, but the city itself is separate from Los Angeles. So there are no LAPD officers in Burbank. There's only Burbank police police officers, Burbank City Police. So they took me past this place that the airport security is Burbank Police to LAX, where the airport security is the Los Angeles Police Department, who they probably had either connections with, old friends, they paid them off, bribes, they got money or favors, something with that. Because what happened is we went into LAX, this is back in like 2007, so it's very like, 9/11 was only a couple of years ago. A lot of like terrorist attacks and stuff like that, so very high security. And these guys had guns. And I mean, more than guns, they had like handcuffs, like all sorts of stuff that is not really allowed on an airplane. And they're not police officers, they're not air marshals or like whatever. They did not have to check in their weapons at all. We went through, like, normally when you go through an airport, you go through a TSA checkpoint where like you'd have to go through x-ray and like body scan and metal detectors and do all this stuff. We went through like a bypass, which is normally used by like the FBI or something. Like if the FBI or some agency is chasing like a fugitive and that fugitive is about to get onto a flight and they don't have time to go through security and they check in their guns and like all this stuff, or go through metal detectors, blah blah blah. They take them through this back area pretty much. So they hold on to their guns, their badges, everything, so they can get to the gate or wherever this fugitive is to arrest them or blah blah blah. Now these guys are not federal agents. They do not currently work for the federal government. They're not police officers. They use this bypass area. What they said to me at the time, which, I mean, lends further credence to the fact that this is all very not kosher. They said if you scream or you tell anybody or you say that you're being kidnapped, I will beat you so badly that you'll wish you had never been born, and nobody will help you, nobody will protect you. We have everything under control, and you will not escape. And I wasn't even thinking about escaping. I still don't know what the hell's going on. I was like taken aback because up to that point, I was like totally polite with these guys. I was like doing whatever they asked me to or whatever. And then all of a sudden, this guy's threatening, pretty bad. I mean, he's threatening me very bad, for something that I hadn't even done yet or thought of doing. It was just so strange. And, by that time, I couldn't, I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom and had these guys in there with me. I was using a urinal, and they were just standing there, like, staring at my junk the whole time. So we got on this plane. It was like a small twin engine, like propeller plane, like a regional type airplane, not like a jumbo jet. And the whole time these guys have guns. They're walking through the airport, nobody's stopping them at all. It's so surreal. Just in full plain view. We get on this airplane and take off, and each aisle or there's like the aisle, and then on each side there's three seats. So I sat in the middle seat, and like the CIA and the Special Forces guy, they sat on either side. So this is a long trip. I don't know where the hell I'm going. I don't know if it's another country, another state, or whatever. If I'm going to Costa Rica, Alaska, I'm being smuggled into China or Mexico, I have no idea. And we're just flying and flying and flying for like 2 or 3 hours. Eventually, I fall asleep. And when I wake up, it's like extreme turbulence. And I look out the window, and it's just like a blizzard. I mean, it is like a zero visibility. I mean, just very bad conditions for flying an airplane, to say the least. I mean, it looked like a full-on snowstorm. And we're coming down to land, so we're getting down like beneath all the weather and everything. And this plane is just getting hammered. I mean, this thing was held together with, zip ties and rubber bands. I mean, it really felt like a not good experience. I mean, even if I didn't have these two, deep state black ops guys sitting on either side of me that would kill me if I tried to escape. I mean, even if I had a scotch and soda and I was sitting there, I'd be feeling pretty nervous. Especially, the runway we're coming into land. It's totally iced. Things totally iced over. So I'm, it's very nerve wracking. Plane lands barely, skids like almost into the terminal. It was horrific landing. Probably the worst landing in any. I've been a lot of places. I've been, to a lot of countries. I've been to Russia. I've been to, the United Kingdom. I've been to France. I've been to, the Caribbean. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Canada. I've never landed in a plane that was that close to, it not being a good outcome. But anyway, they take me out of this airplane, take me through this airport, which later I found out was in Bend, Oregon. And I get handed off to a different security team. So CIA guy and the Special Forces guy, they get back on a different flight to go I assume to a new job. Like what they just did to me, now they're going to go fly to some other place and do it to somebody else. Now they transferred me to this other group of people that were less, I mean, on first glance, they're less overtly paramilitary, you could say. Like, they were not as geared up with, like, body armor and, like, all of this stuff, obviously meant to be intimidating or whatever. They're much more low-key, you know what I mean? Very, not incognito, but just, they had a whole cover, Outside of the terminal, there's a black Chevy Suburban that was just like the Prius, that I had been taken to the airport in before, with the diplomatic features on it, the tinted windows and the locks and the doors and the run flat tires and all that stuff. Probably like a fucking metal plate in front of the radiator. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So, they put me in this SUV. This is in front of, and like, I have no idea who these guys are. They're not cops. They're not, federal agents. Like, what authority, what do they operate under? I have no idea. There's a bunch of these Bend City police officers and Deschutes County sheriffs and all these guys just standing around watching this happen. And I'm wondering, what the hell's going on? I'm being kidnapped. And these cops are just standing there, like, not doing anything. Later I'd find out that they're all paid off. And so they're paid to allow this to happen or whatever. They should all be shot in the head and buried in an unmarked grave and burned in hell for what they've done and allowed to happen. But I get a black bag put on my head, like Abu Ghraib in Iraq or in Guantanamo Bay. If you when capture insurgent like in Iraq somewhere, and they put them in a fucking black bag, like zip tied over their head when they're transporting them, to the jail, or they have them, torturing them or whatever. That didn't make me feel too good, you know. So I'm sitting in the back of this SUV with all these other people that are like piled in there, and they all got black bags on their heads, like me. And like nobody outside, like the people walking by going and using the airport, can see that inside of this random black SUV parked like in front of the terminal, there's like 4, 5, or 6 kids that have been kidnapped and are tied up and have a fucking black bag over their head so they can't see anything. It's like pretty remarkable, really. So they took us from there. I think we stopped by like a doctor's office for some reason, to do like some physical to see if anybody was dying. And then after that, they took us to another building it was just a totally nondescript structure, like a 1 story big building. Like think of like a VFW lodge, or like a just shoot, I don't know, like a something like that. Like an elk lodge or something. I don't know. It's like a large square footage, single story structure out in the middle of nowhere. Like, you look around and there's nothing for miles around. No buildings, no people, no cars. Don't even see airplanes or helicopters in the sky. I mean, it was like a 3 or 4 hour drive to get there. So it was really out in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. And so this is what happened next: is I got taken off this SUV with all of these other people. I got taken into this room that was, like a big room, like a conference room. And they had like all these chairs set up against a wall, like 50 folding chairs, up against a wall. And there's all these people sitting in these chairs. Now, some of them were employees of this corporation, which was Aspen Education Group. Some of them were employees of Bain Capital, who owns the Aspen Education Group. And some of them were police officers. And I walk in this room. I have a black bag over my head. They take it off my head and they tell me to take all my clothes off. So at first I'm like, what? And then, they have the police officers that are there, like, say like, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Like that type of attitude. You're a 15-year-old kid. You don't know what the hell's just happened. You just been kidnapped from your family, flown to a different state, and now you just got a black bag put on your head. You're stuck in a room with a bunch of people, and now there's this cop with a gun who's apparently working with them, who's telling you to take off all your clothes and get naked. So I really had no choice, so that's what I did. Took off all my clothes. So now I'm naked. I'm standing in the middle of this room that's got like 30 or 40 people in it. Some of them, have like cameras and like phones and like whatever. So they're obviously like taking pictures of everything. And they start issuing me commands. Like Abu Ghraib, really. They put me out like in the middle of the room. They do this to all these kids one at a time, And I was like 15 years old, but there's other, they're like 12, 13, 11, fucking whatever. So I'm like standing in the middle of this room. They'll say like turn around or face a certain direction. The insinuation is if you don't do what they say, like you're going to get tased or you're going to get beaten or like pepper sprayed or like something bad is going to happen. So they'll give you all these very specific instructions, like spread your butt cheeks, let us see your asshole, lift up your cock, rub your balls, like all this stuff, And the whole time they're like laughing, they're smiling, taking pictures for like whatever. Police officers, literally police officers, are in the middle of this, like laughing and smiling and whatever. And like it's it's just like complete, like it's like Pizzagate. It's like Jeffrey Epstein or something. And it's like you could say it's like a security thing. When they arrest somebody, when a law enforcement agency arrests somebody, like even a mass murderer, and they take them to jail on felonies, they do not do that thorough of a strip search on them. This is totally for the pleasure of the parties involved. Like all these pictures that they take, I'm sure that they're circulating on the internet, being sold traded in between pedophiles, and people are jacking off to a picture of me that's like 15 years old, of me standing there humiliated in a room, like forced to hold my cock or something like that. Like that's how sick this is. And not only that, but you get to see it done to like other people who are like crying, who are like begging for like their parents or like whatever. It's very disturbing. I mean, it's like stuff that really affects you for the rest of your life. But anyway, after that's done, there's a few more for the things that they do there. That's not really too important, I guess. But they put you in an orange jumpsuit, or maybe it is important. I can't even remember because a lot of this stuff is very highly repressed. Like in my mind, I should probably go to like a hypnotherapist or something like that in order to unlock some of these memories that have been repressed, that whatever. But they put you in a jumpsuit, like an all orange jumpsuit, like in Guantanamo Bay. And then you get the black bag put back over your head. So you're full head to toe now. Got your Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay chic going on. You got your black bag on your head. You got your orange jumpsuit. You're barefoot. You're shackled. You're in the back of a black SUV being driven by a CIA agent. It's really hilarious. And you're 15 years old. And you have no idea what the fuck is going on or what you even did wrong or why you're even there. So, after that, this whole time, this rule is in effect, but they remind us very sternly during this section, do not speak. You're not allowed to speak unless spoken to, or you'll be punished, taser, pepper spray, beating, whatever. To anybody else, because you're crammed in this back of this SUV, and you got all these other people, shackled up next to you, these kids or whatever. And so you want to say, like, where are we going? Or, like, what is going on? Or what are they going to do to us? Are they going to kill us? Or whatever. If you say stuff like that, you'll be ripped out of that SUV, and then you'll be put. You never get seen again. So what I assume that they do is they beat the shit out of you, and they put you in a different SUV and take you to a different place, or they kill you. I don't fucking know. I mean, these people are completely psychotic, and they're above the law. Like, they have no repercussions. They can do this in front of police officers, federal agents, like whatever. It doesn't matter. So they start driving, and it's like a immense distance. I mean, for like 5 hours, you're crammed in the back of this, Blackwater SUV. You have, motion sickness like fucking crazy because you can't see like out the window or like where you're, whatever. And, they're doing like 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, 5 hours. And you're going off-road, on-road, off-road, on-road, off-road. And then eventually you just end up at some place. When they had put the bag on your head, it was daytime. It was like, 2 in the afternoon. And they take it off, and it's like pitch black dark. So it's, maybe like 8, 7, 8, 9 at night. I don't know, And you're out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, like in a place where the mafia would bury a body or something. Like it's just this desert that's totally desolate. Like no buildings, no roads really. Like just nothing for as far as you can see, which is not very far because it's completely black. I mean, you can barely make out, with the starlight and the moonlight, some of the outlines of distant, like geographic features, mountains, hills, uh, stuff like that. Maybe some trees. But overall, I mean, there's no lights from houses or cars or anything like that. There's nobody out there, you know. So then they just leave. So now you're standing there, you know, you you're finally allowed to take this black bag off your head, and you're standing there with these other people that you never met. These other prisoners. You're dressed head to toe in like this prisoner uniform, like out of some dystopian movie. And you're alone. You have no idea like what to do or what's going on or where to go. You think like maybe they just left you out here to die of hypothermia or like hunger or some sort of weird torture thing, like by some group of serial killers. So you have no idea. No idea, You're not told anything. So it's like eventually, you start wandering around at night and in the snow, and eventually like they'll come out, like somebody will come and guide you to like these little like hovels, these little like areas, like not a building, like not even a campsite, like just like this small area, like maybe in a clearing of trees or on like a tiny plateau where you just sleep on the ground. I mean, it's like the temperatures there, this is Oregon in the winter. So it's like negative 14, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, it's like it's like dangerously cold, deathly cold. Like, I mean, Stalingrad cold. So, you eat this food. They give you some food finally after like 48, 72 hours, however long it's been. And you will throw up right away because the food is like untreated, like rice and stuff, like stuff that they would drop out of airplanes over Africa, like the United Nations or something. But the thing is, Africans are smart enough to wash the rice because it has pesticides in it and poison and like other stuff before they eat it. These people, not only do they not do that, they don't allow you to do that. So you're just ingesting like a ton of pesticides that make you so sick you start throwing up. And like, your body can go into like convulsions. I mean, it depends on how much you ate or how much of like the pesticides, that you get into your system. But I mean, you're definitely puking. Everyone at least pukes. And so they'll try to make you right away, right off the bat. You get punished every time you throw up. They'll tell you to eat your own vomit. They'll tell you to dig a hole in the ground, throw up into it, and then drink out of it using a stick. They'll make you go find a stick and then try and dig in the ground. And I don't know if you've ever tried to dig in the earth when it's frozen, even with a shovel, but it's really fucking hard. It is not easy to do. I mean, it is like hard, packed, I mean, it's tough. And it's agonizing. I mean, it's still the middle of the night, so you can't see anything. You're puking, you're digging, you're getting screamed at, maybe hit, stuff like that, pushed to the ground or whatever. No idea what's going on still. No idea why I'm here. And then, yeah, they give you like a sleeping bag, like a really shitty one, comes apart like nothing. I mean, mine like just tore open, so it was just completely worthless. And I ended up like sleeping just in clothes, like on the ground in the winter, on just there, just on the ground. like a homeless person. But a homeless person in the middle of a giant desert where there's no hospital for fucking 150 miles. So, yeah, that's a little introduction. Uh, this exists. This is a real thing that happens to this day all over the place. It's so disturbing. When you go through your life thinking that the world is generally a place where law and order prevail over like the intentions of evil people, and then you come to learn that not only is that not true, but that the agents or the custodians of law and order are the same ones that are committing the most heinous crimes or aiding and abetting or are complicit in this activity, which somehow benefits them personally, whether it's material financial gain or they gain favors later on or a sexual gratification. It changes your worldview, especially of police officers, of course, but just of people in general. Uh, the general apathy of people. I mean, going through that airport with these guys that are manhandling me, not, one person, you know, ever. If it would have stopped them, maybe like the FBI would have shown up, all this would have been prevented or whatever. Nobody would or cared or anything like that. They didn't want to get involved. So it really it makes you lose faith in humanity, I guess, a lot like going to war or something like that. You see a lot of very sick stuff and what people are capable of, and you sort of devalue human life yourself after seeing that. Like you give people not like very much less so the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say like you're after that you're very much pro death penalty, let's say. So I'm gonna cut it off right there because that's enough for now, and then I'll get into the rest of the stuff later, or I'll return to this a little bit if I forgot something, because I'm just doing this off the cuff. There's very few times where, because from this whole experience, I got real bad PTSD. I got a lot of anxiety problems. There's very few times where I'm capable of going through this, relating this story in an intelligent, non-emotional way without it completely just ruining my day or sending me into like a horrific downward spiral where I'm just, want to just cry or, kill myself pretty much. So this is one of the few rare times where I was in the position to tell this once again, and I took the opportunity to do it because I don't know when, I'll have the strength again to continue. It's not an easy thing. I mean, the hardest part is not what's done to you personally, but what you see done to other people, I guess. But I'm rambling now, so I'll cut it off here. And if you're interested in the story still, you can check out my next video. So, hope you have a good day, and good luck to you. God bless.